Okay, welcome everybody. We will give everybody a chance to get into the webinar before we kick it off. Um, welcome to our webinar. I always like to ask where everybody's calling in from. I am in Denver, Colorado today. It's a beautiful spring day out. Drew, where are you?
Well, hey Justin, I just put it in the chat. I don't know
All right, there we
if
go.
if
Yeah,
anybody
can't
can see
see.
that, but I put it in the chat. I'm in Evansville, Indiana. So southern Indiana, just about 150 miles north of Nashville, Tennessee. So if you're around this area, hello everybody.
Very nice. All right, still got a few people coming in. Let's see
See a
here.
friend from Tennessee down there, Collierville. Hello,
Nice.
Robert. There's Richard Gardner from Knoxville, Tennessee, which is my hometown, actually, where I was born and raised before I went to college in Indiana. So, hello, Richard in Knoxville.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll still have a few trickling in, but I think it's slowing down a little bit from the counter, the ticker I'm seeing. So let's oh, Portland, Oregon. I lived in Portland, Oregon for 3 years. Beautiful spot.
Nice.
Um,
Very cool.
the Income Lab bike ride. Oh, yeah. Okay. You're talking about like local bike companies. Got it. Yeah, there are a few of those around here. They don't come cheap, but I hear they're good quality. All right, let's get this kicked off. Really happy to have with us Drew Shockley from Move Health and Russ Thornton, who is a real live financial advisor, who is gonna do a lot of helping us out today. So Russ uses both Income Lab. I'm Justin Fitzpatrick, by the way, one of the founders of Income Lab, and Move Health. And I know Russ has focused on, at least in part, planning for healthcare and coverage for retirees and early retirees. So he's going to have a lot of thoughts around that. Let's start out though by kind of giving everyone on this call, in case not everyone is familiar with Income Lab and Move Health, just a feel for what both of our firms do before we turn over to Russ for kind of case studies and more hands-on approach. So Drew, if you want to kind of give us a feel for what your company is up to.
Yeah, sure. Justin, thank you very much. And hello, everybody. Thanks to the entire team over at Income Lab, Ashley and Shelby and Russ. Look forward to hearing from you here in just a couple of minutes. But my name is Drew Shockley. I'm one of the founders of Move Health. You can visit us on our website, movehealth.io, where you can gain all the information about what it is that we do. But Justin, I've spent the last 20 years working in the health insurance and Medicare space. Move Health makes the third company that I've been a part of from a startup perspective. We are solving the health insurance and Medicare problem that exists for early retirees. And we're doing that by partnering with financial advisors, going directly to the source or to what we like to call the quarterback of that relationship. So we specifically serve people in the 55 to 64 age range that are looking to leave their job, move into retirement, and find individual health insurance coverage that's both high quality and affordable and matches the financial planning needs that the financial advisor is owning. In addition to that, we help people move into Medicare as well. Typically, the age there is age 65, but we have a team of licensed agents that actually facilitate the entire engagement process alongside a financial advisor, which makes this super unique. Move Health is not a tech-only solution. We do have a tech platform. We have a subscription model. It's very low cost and affordable from our perspective, gives financial advisors tools and the ability to run some analysis. And Russ is going to show you some of that here in just a little bit. But really, Move Health is a platform and a partnership with a team of people that help solve this problem and this growing problem for people in that space. So again, Drew Shockley, co-founder of Move Health here, and excited to be on the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you, Drew. That's really interesting, and we're gonna hear a lot about this. I'll give you a little feel for Income Lab, and you'll kind of see why we're doing this joint webinar. So, Income Lab, for those of you who don't know, is financial planning software, retirement planning software. It does things a little bit differently. A lot of financial planning software began kind of in the 90s or early 2000s, and it was really based on accumulation type questions that people had for retirement, and with good reason. They're wondering how much they should save, how they should invest, and so on. We're really focused more on how to live your life in retirement, or maybe in semi-retirement, early retirement, and so on. And so what that is much more around kind of what can I spend given my resources and my expectations for living, right? We think of it as, if you're a financial advisor advising, people hoping to retire at any age, early or late, what they want from you is to help them live the best life they can, the most fulfilling life, to use their resources in a way that actually, gets them where they would like to go, given what they have, the world they happen to live through, the time they happen to have, the health they happen to have, and so on. There's all these unknowns, but they're just trying to do their best to build a good life for themselves. So that's what Income Lab is all about. So I'll let Russ show, parts of software that he wants to show, but just to give you a brief overview of kind of the main dashboard you would see in Income Lab software. There's tons of other parts that we can go over later, but these folks have, $2.75 million. They have a bunch of other resources as well, like Social Security, pension, rental property, and so on. And we're trying to help advisors give them that basic answer of what can I spend. And so for them, that's 19,300. Again, that's not all portfolio withdrawals. Sometimes people see software and they think that's all it's about. No, it's about timing of Social Security. It's about, tax optimization, and so on. In fact, we just launched a new Social Security optimizer tool that's really cool. So lots of stuff going on there. And then it's about, an Income Lab is not it recognizes that life is not about success or failure. You don't either succeed or fail in life. That's just the wrong framing. It's about adjusting, taking the punches when they come, taking the opportunities when they come, and so on. And that's what a retirement plan with Income Lab is all about. So here you can see that there are actual expectations an advisor would set for a client, saying, hey, if things go a little better, we're actually going to be able to spend more. And maybe you've already talked with clients about bucket list items, things that they would do if they had the opportunity. If things get worse, and in this case, quite a bit worse, here's what we would do to adjust to that environment that we're walking into. In this case, we would tap the brakes on spending by about $900 a month. In practice, there are often other things you can do as well, changing future spending goals and so on. But that's part of what Income Lab is all about. As I said, lots of other things, including tax smart distribution planning, Social Security optimization, and so on. But you're going to see a lot more of that with Russ. So maybe, Russ, we could start out just by letting the participants in the webinar here know a little bit about you and your practice before we move into kind of the case studies.
Yeah, sure. As I think Justin said earlier, I am a real live financial advisor. I'm based in Atlanta. I've been doing this for 30 plus years. Still strange to hear myself say that. I work primarily with women that are approaching or transitioning into retirement. So my kind of my firm brand is Wealthcare for Women. And as a result, I spend a lot of time dealing with retirement income planning, both leading up to and into retirement, and health insurance. has become a larger and larger part of my conversations with clients. I'm sure everyone's seen the studies that say, healthcare, health expenses are one of retirees' biggest concerns as they approach retirement. So the combination of Income Lab and Move Health has allowed me to address both in a manner that puts my clients' interests first and just works really well kind of with my advice, philosophy, and process. So that's a little bit about me. I'm happy to answer any other questions as we go, though.
So Russ, that I definitely can see that point. And for people who maybe don't know as much about, planning for healthcare costs and so on, why and in particular for early retirees, like why is it such a big deal? Why is that one of the hardest, nuts to crack for early retirement?
So in my experience, retirement is filled with unknowns and questions. Big, often expensive questions like, am I going to run out of money? How much can I afford to spend? And I think one of the biggest, if not the biggest question there is, I've been on my spouse's company plan, or I've been on my own employer plan for all these years. Once that goes away, what happens? Do I, when does Medicare start? What do I do between now and Medicare if I retire prior to 65? Am I kind of at the mercy of the market if I have to go out and find a marketplace plan? Does Cobra make sense? And all those questions. And let me be very upfront. I'm by no stretch even approaching an expert in health insurance, which is why I've, sought out to partner with Drew and the folks at Move Health, because they bring that expertise to the table, but do so in a way that keeps me in the loop and gives me more context and data that I can then put in a client's Income Lab plan, so I can build a better plan and ultimately give better advice. But I think, to answer your question, Justin, I think it's just fear of the unknown, and among the unknowns, health insurance is a big one.
Yeah, and I mean, these are real expenses, right? I mean, it's potentially thousands of dollars a month in premiums, right? And of course, there can also be expenses, on top of that. And somebody retiring, before 65 when Medicare starts or can start, it could be like a mortgage for somebody. So yeah, putting that in place is a big deal. So maybe you could get us a feel for kind of some of the answers to the questions that or the options that you just threw out, right? Should I use Cobra? Go on an exchange, right? All these different things. How do I put it into a financial plan like Income Lab? By maybe walking us through, some examples or case studies, and Drew and I'll ask some questions as we go.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'm pulling up my screen. Hopefully you guys can see it here shortly.
Yep.
And so every person that that we mutually agree that we want to kind of embark on this process of building a plan and starting our work together, I schedule a discovery call. And I'm not going to go through all this, but I basically ask a lot of questions and create a mind map in real time with this potential client on the phone. So I go into values questions, asking George Kinder questions, things like that. I ask who's important to them, including pets, organizations. I ask about future goals, everything from retirement to travel to home to wedding for a child or a grandchild. And of course, we get into the financials. So everything from there's a lot here. Everything from, car, house, financial assets, income, Social Security, pension. And I increasingly ask about health insurance. What's your current health insurance coverage? Do you have your own coverage? Are you secondary on a spouse's plan, et cetera, et cetera? And then we get into some other areas. I take all this information and basically transpose that into Income Lab to begin building a plan. Now, let me pause and say, if I'm going through a discovery conversation with a client and it's clear that health insurance is their primary concern and something they want to address like immediately, then I would probably skip the broader planning and probably get Move Health involved more quickly, which I'll touch on in a moment. But here is Income Lab, as Justin kind of walked you through earlier. Liquid portfolio, achievable. I like the option to call this retirement paycheck. And there's a ton of information. I'm not going to dig through all of it, but as you can see, just by way of inputs, this sample hypothetical client lives in Florida. I show she is currently retired, but we could unretire her, if you will, and say we want to have her retire, let's say in June of 27. So that pushes her out a couple of years to almost age 60. Her assets, she's got a brokerage account, an IRA, a Roth, no annuities. She's got a banking account at Ally. She owns her home, no mortgage. As far as future income, her PIA, her full retirement age Social Security benefit is not quite $1,700 a month. And you can toggle this slider to see if taking it earlier or taking it later, the impact that makes dollar-wise, and that'll flow right into her plan. And she gets a survivor pension benefit from her deceased husband. Expenses is where I think Income Lab really shines, because rather than putting the responsibility on the client to tell me how much they need to spend or how much they're currently spending, we can answer what is, in my experience, a pretty common question, which is how much can I afford to spend? Having said that, there's a couple of ways to go about it. We can enter basically no expenses in here, and Income Lab back on the screen that Justin showed you, it'll basically solve and say, this is how much you can afford to spend this month or your first month of retirement and then beyond. Or you can enter a baseline number. So this would be like basically a cost of living number. It takes, in this example, $6,500 a month after tax for Jane Sample to live her life. You can also itemize. So you can flip this over and you could actually break that $6,500 or whatever number it is down into different categories, including health insurance, which we'll again revisit in a minute. And then you can have some other variable expenses. So these are, in my mind, I treat these as less of needs and more of wants and wishes. So this is where I might put things like travel or charitable donations or things of that nature. All that calculates back into giving us this really simple, clear, easy to communicate dashboard that says, in this, again, hypothetical client's situation, her first month of retirement will be June of 2027, at which point, and this is after tax number and includes variable expenses, she can afford to spend almost $9,500 a month. You can further dig into, all right, well, once we get to June of 2027, where does that $9,500 a month come from? And you can see that, well, $1,275 of it's going to come from her survivor pension, and we're going to take $8,800 from her taxable Schwab account. So it does a really good job of getting into the details. Again, I'm going to keep this relatively high level, but can easily dig into more details as we go. As Justin mentioned, they've just released a new Social Security analysis tool. And I think it's, Justin, you can comment on this. I think it's maybe a little bit more impactful for a couple than a single person. But here you can easily toggle like life expectancy. What if benefits were to get reduced in the future due to legislation or whatever the case may be, opportunity cost. And there's some other things you can quickly edit to see, to see what the impact might be. So like if I moved her life expectancy up to, let's say, 2045 and apply changes, it's going to tell me that, it makes sense for her to take Social Security benefits a lot sooner, like, somewhere between 62 and 63, as opposed to waiting all the way to age 70. So it just, again, it's another great example of how Income Lab facilitates really good, meaningful, and often exploratory conversations with clients. I'm only scratching the surface, and I've only showed you maybe 5% of everything Income Lab can do. If we have time, I'm happy to circle back and show you more. But again, if we come back to this client and we think about her expenses, whether we're entering a total or itemizing, whether we include health insurance as a variable expense or itemize it within this client's baseline expenses, it's helpful to have a good number because good data in, good data out. And so how do you go about that? Well, I can say that Move Health basically solves that issue for me. Partnering with Move and my relationship manager, Jacqueline, which is another great thing about Move, is I have a single point of contact. So all my clients go to Jacqueline. So it's not like they get, handed off to a call center and, they're going to talk to a different person every time. I've got a single point of contact. I developed a relationship with Jacqueline at Move Health. She knows kind of how I think about planning and my preferences, and can communicate that when she's talking to my clients. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and start to give you guys a little bit of an introduction to what Move Health is and how I work with it. And then maybe we can circle back and show how that would flow into a client's income lab plan. So if I'm in Move Health, I've got an advisor login and a dashboard. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. And I can click a button that says refer a client. So I basically enter a client's name, their zip code, I think it is, when they need coverage, and their date of birth. I think that's it, Drew. Are there any other entry data points at that early stage?
Yeah, no. So you pretty much nailed it. I think the one thing that I would add that's relative right now to our relationship with Income Lab and financial advisors working with clients that are in this window. Over the past 10 years, the modified adjusted gross income number has become the number one most important factor to the cost of health insurance coverage for people that are buying outside of an employer. Okay, so I'm going to just say that one more time. You may know this, but alongside of the Affordable Care Act that was created and launched back in 2014, so 11 years ago, there is an advanced premium tax credit that the number one factor is modified adjusted gross income. So financial advisors, you have the power and the ability to help control the cost of health insurance more so than any other professional that they would work with. So whenever Ross is going to show you our tools here in a second, what you do, what you create for them from an income perspective, what you do in planning, what where you pull money from is the number one driver for the cost of health insurance coverage. And advisors like Russ and others that we're working with have brought this to the forefront of their practice, and they've been able to make significant headway with clients in this particular area. So yes, Russ, sorry, long answer to what you're saying. Zip code, age, and modified adjusted gross income.
No, perfect. Thanks, Drew. So in the interest of protecting client information, I've taken some screenshots, which I'll kind of fly through, and then I'll actually show you a little bit of the actual Move Health platform. But so I signed up as a Jane sample using my own email. And this is the welcome email that Jane, would have received as a client. So as you can see, it's very simple. It references me in the first line. So again, this is very advisor friendly. And if Jane clicks this sign up here button, it takes her to this screen where she literally just enters her email, sets a password, and signs up. Concurrently, I receive an email that's saying that Jane has received a referral, and I can click here to see her in my dashboard. And once Jane basically enters an email and selects a password, she receives this email that says, "Thank you for setting up your account. Click here to book a meeting with Jacqueline." And you see, this is actually from Jacqueline. It's not from a kind of a nameless, no reply account. This is actually from Jacqueline. Once Jane, the sample client, set up her account and she logs in, this is what her interface looks like. So she can see Jacqueline and her contact information down here. She can see me and my contact information down here. And it's very clear where she would go to take the next step, which is scheduling an appointment. Just to give you a little bit kind of broader context, this is my dashboard. So when I log into Move Health, I've actually got 2, maybe 3 pages of clients listed here. I've got everybody kind of blurred out except for Jane here, but this is kind of the gateway to working with your clients and Move Health together. And you can see some of these handy status updates or statuses for each of your clients. They don't have to be clients, by the way. These can be professionals, referrals, prospects, family, friends, you name it. Here I am in my client list. So I can, as you can see in this dropdown, you can quickly filter all of your clients or people in Move Health by their status, whatever that may be. And here's where the rubber meets the road. So this is actually one of my clients. This is what they've gone through the Move Health process. They've talked to Jacqueline. They've shared their preferences, their doctors, their hospitals, their drugs that they may, their prescriptions they might be on. And Jacqueline has worked with them and got them enrolled in a plan. So you see here in green, enrolled in coverage. And this is what I, as their advisor, can see about their current health plan. So I can see their premium, their deductible, fixed annual cost, dental premium. This particular client's getting a pretty nice premium credit because of their income, and that's adjusted in these numbers. But I can then go and take these numbers and immediately port them over into her plan in retirement in Income Lab. Here is similar information for another client that is enrolled in coverage, but they're enrolled in Medicare. So here you can see their premium, which is being impacted by IRMA, and you can also see their fixed annual cost. So this is good to know. From my perspective, it's good to know because you can kind of see, in a year where the wheels fall off and they've got a lot of healthcare expenses, you can see kind of their maximum exposure, and I think that's helpful to know in their planning. If we come over here. So this is Drew and his team were helpful in setting up kind of this sample data in here. So this is Jane Sample, the client that I set up, and here is a sample marketplace analysis, which I'll show you in just a moment. But what if you've got a client a person that's not yet a client, but they need help? Well, Move Health's got a great estimator tool. So you can come in here and just with a few clicks, you could say, so I'll put in my name and my zip code and my age. And you can see because of my zip code, Move Health recognized that the state of Georgia, where I'm based, has a new state-based marketplace estimator. If I had used, let me get let's see, where'd that go? 33134. If I use a Miami zip code, it takes that away. And so you can save this. As Drew mentioned earlier, it's asking for Magi. So if I put 120K in here and hit save, you can see right here that it gives you some pretty, and Drew can speak to this better than I can, but in talking to Drew and Christine at Caribou Health, before I started working with Move Health, this is more accurate than just going to an online web-based wizard and putting in a couple of data points and hoping to get a reasonably accurate estimate.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. I'll insert just real quick. So I think you mentioned a couple of things here in this particular case. So there's about 40 states that work on a federal marketplace platform. So this is the experience that you would see in 40 states. And I want to point this out real quick. So in that household income, Russ, if you will you take that 120 down to 70? I want to just show everyone the impact here at 120,000, for a single person that is modified adjusted gross income, they're not able to leverage very much of the advanced premium tax credit to utilize in the individual market. As that income changes, or if you as the financial advisor are able to utilize some income planning to drive their actual taxable income down, you're going to see that net impact on the health insurance coverage as well. So taking this down to 70,000 results in, over $4,000 a year in a tax credit. Russ, if you will, take that 70 down to 40. That doesn't mean they have to live off of 40,000. This is just the modified adjusted gross income. You could choose to take money from, already tax sources first. You could use, various type savings, whatever you could to leverage this, because in this particular case, as we have moved this particular female's income down to 40,000 from a modified adjusted gross standpoint, this tax credit pushes nearly $10,000 a year. So this is pretty meaningful work that financial advisors are doing, like Russ are doing. Then they're utilizing the Move Health tool. This Move Health tool has a built-in integration with the federal government marketplace. So we're giving you actual premiums and actual tax credits, and we're simplifying it to just gold, silver, and bronze level plans. Russ, I'm going to turn it back over to you, but I'm going to explain the relationship that we have with Caribou. For those of you that have been in the space, there's a number of financial advisors on this call. Maybe you're familiar with Caribou. Caribou has been in the market trying to solve the health insurance and Medicare problem, for a number of years. We developed a really incredible partnership with Christine Simone, who is the founder of Caribou. And in January of this year, Move Health acquired Caribou and acquired the Caribou healthcare planning tools and the healthcare plan and analysis that Russ is about to show you. So we're pumped and excited to be, to now be one. We'll be utilizing the Move Health brand, but we acquired the Caribou tool and we're still utilizing it today. And I think that Russ is going to show that to you.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. So back over here and under this, sample clients Move Health profile, you can see a sample marketplace analysis was generated. This is what that looks like. So here you can see her name, age, geography, because obviously that drives coverage options and costs. And in this example, this is pre-Medicare based on her age, but this shows 4 options. So it shows a bronze, I guess these are all 3 bronze and 1 silver plan. And what's great about this is it simplifies what could otherwise be an overwhelming amount of information, but it's customized to this client's doctors. So you can see here that very deliberately the client's personal doctor or medication data is blacked out, so I can't see it. If they want to print out their copy and send it to me, they can. But it basically says which of your doctors, which of your hospitals, and which of your pharmacies and medications are covered under each plan. So it's not just looking at premium cost, it's looking at premium cost relative to coverage on a personalized basis. And so these clients can make a much better informed decision and think about things about, rating of the plans, premiums, deductibles, the whole 9 yards. So it takes, in my experience, takes a very often confusing and overwhelming decision and simplifies it and puts it on a personal level for the client so they can make a more informed decision. So what's all this for? Well, once you've got all this information, you can come back to their plan, and I could easily say, I could easily pull, the health insurance premium information or fixed cost or maximum annual exposure information, and easily drop that into their plan. I can put it in as a variable expense. I would more likely put it in as a baseline expense because that's not really an optional expense because everyone needs health coverage in some form or fashion. So I would probably either include it in the baseline total, or I would itemize and literally just say health insurance coverage, if I could type, and put it under here. I would put it as medical and put it at $1,400 a year, or I'm sorry, a month, or whatever data I'm getting back out of the Move Health analysis. And so it really creates this virtuous circle of being able to ask and get good information that can better inform not just their health care decisions in isolation, but their overall retirement income plan, and make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page and talking to each other. One final thing I'll mention before I pass it back over to Justin and Drew is this is not a one and done thing. This is not oh, hey, you've got health insurance. Congratulations, good luck. That box is checked and we never have to revisit it. If a client is 63 or 64, we would run the estimator and look ahead to what his or her Medicare expenses might look like. So we can start planning ahead and we can actually factor that into their income lab plan. So we could have their pre-Medicare expenses happening up till, right up until their 65th birthday. And then we could put the estimated expenses of Medicare coverage into their plan. The other thing too is even my clients on Medicare, probably beating a dead horse at this point, but I've told them that every year we're going to revisit their drug plan, because even if they're on traditional Medicare, drug plans, formularies, that whole thing can change. Actually can change quite a lot from year to year. And so that's something we always need to revisit. Their, their A and B coverage, their supplement plan probably won't change, but their Part D drug plan is something that we need to continuously review. And once again, that data flows back into Income Lab. So it's, in my mind, it's all about how do we create the best advice for the client. And I think a big part of that, not all of it, but a big part of that is getting good data, accurate data into the plan. And the combination of Income Lab and Move Health, I feel really helps me do that really well.
Great stuff, Russ.
Couldn't do it without you, Drew. So Justin, I'll toss it back to you guys, and I'm happy to go back into anything that might be helpful, or if anyone has any questions. But that's really what I wanted to cover.
Yeah, that was great, Russ. Let me I'll pose a few questions that we've gotten in the chat and Q&A here. So is this a part of kind of your standard offering, Russ, in terms of financial advice? Are you charging separately for these kinds of services, or is it just part of an AUM fee?
Yeah, so like many advisors that are probably on the call, I've experimented with different business models and pricing setups over the years, but currently I have one service. It's AUM based. In some situations, I'll charge a fixed annual fee instead, but it's kind of an all-in. So if you're a client of mine, you get access to Move Health. You get, if you're approaching or in retirement, you're going to have an Income Lab plan, and you get everything I can bring to the table to try to deliver value to you. So it's not a separate service. I don't charge a la carte for anything. So if a client and I agree to work together, they're going to get access to Income Lab. They're going to get access to Move Health, and that's something that we would do on an upfront and ongoing basis.
Perfect. And I thought I'd show, I know, Drew, that was a good point about MAGI. I thought I'd show folks a little bit of the Income Lab, like places you could see that, for example, or yeah, Russ, you could do as well. But here so now this is a plan with a bunch of Roth conversions. So this is actually a great example of how, one thing people often do in Income Lab is try to optimize for kind of tax smart distribution planning. And like so many things in financial planning, there's just trade-offs. I mean, like, hey, this might be a good idea to get some Roth conversions in young, but oh, that pushed my MAGI too high, and now I'd gotta give up, $10,000 in credit. So I always say there's certainly a lot of science to financial advising, but there's a heck of a lot of art as well because of these trade-offs. There's just no, free lunch or anything. But what you're seeing here is a client. This one happens to be doing a bunch of Roth conversions. And so you're seeing even Medicare IRMA involved. But down here, you'll see, in this case, an MAGI column. Now, in this case, the M is optional because it's the same thing for this particular client. But if they were different, then you would see different numbers. Another place where you'll see a lot of really good kind of AGI and tax information is in Tax Lab, which the first place I go to is a comparison screen where it is really focused on kind of tax optimization and so on. But it can also be used to explore, the year by year brackets, how different types of income are stacking up, and so on. So again, this is an aggressive Roth conversion strategy, but I might be able to say, well, hang on, if I were doing, targeting the 10% bracket, at what point would I actually be able to, keep my MAGI? Now you can see, a fair amount of this is actually completely non-taxable, not part of AGI or MAGI, right? But as Drew was saying, you can still live on this money, right? If it's cost basis from a taxable account, if it's distributions from a Roth account, there's all sorts of income that you can actually live on, but is not going to show up in your AGI or MAGI. So I think that's why you can actually do quite a bit of interesting planning to to manage MAGI. So in this case, we're doing it through tapping taxable accounts first. I don't think these folks had Roth accounts already, but if they did, you could certainly, target those first. But we were able to, in this first year, get $140,000 of money we can spend, but it's not going to show up on your AGI or MAGI, right? But for you, hey, a dollar's a dollar, right? Still they take it at the grocery store, So this is a great place to kind of, if you're looking to dive in deep on year by year what we're looking at in terms of different types of income. And in this case, probably I could actually afford to do quite a bit more Roth conversion and still keep my MAGI low enough. Because that was a pretty small chunk. But this is a good spot where you can kind of look at the effects of those things on MAGI. There was one other question I thought I'd just hit quick. Actually, I think I have this open already. Somebody was asking, hey, for that Social Security thing, what do I have to put in? Like, what's the, is this like an onerous thing? And as you said, Russ, it's true. With two people, there's a lot more moving parts. You got spousal benefits, survivor benefits, all sorts of things going on. And so all you have to do for that is, I mean, the very simplest is if you go to their Social Security account or statement, there is a number, which is your benefit amount if you claim at full retirement age, or sometimes it's called normal retirement age. So you see both. And that is called the primary insurance amount. That's probably the easiest one to do. At Income Lab, you can actually do lots of other things too. You can put in a full earnings history. If you don't have any access to any of this, maybe it's a prospect or something, and all you know is roughly what they make per year, you can do an estimate that way. Now, that won't be as accurate, right? But it at least gets you, where you're trying to go, and then allows you to start the process of, like Russ was saying, hey, let's explore different levels of, life expectancy. Let's look at what if benefits are cut someday? How does that change kind of the optimal, the spot I might want to take? You can look at, whether there's really much difference between shaking it this late and taking it a lot earlier. So in this case, I'm looking at, hey, give me kind of a fudge factor of 1.5%. And you can see I can take it quite a bit earlier. So anyway, people had a few questions about that. So I wanted to hit those.
Justin, as we navigate the questions here in the chat and then the ones that are in the Q&A, could you go back to the one graph that you were showing before that was showing like IRMA implications and was showing the breakdown of Roth conversions? Just going to throw this out here. We'll just do some live development and live integrations here. It would be phenomenal if you could show the impact of Roth conversions alongside of advanced premium tax credits and help financial advisors leverage that type of advanced planning, because it's all there. It's all there. But if you start making adjustments like this, when it comes to these advanced premium tax credits, if you're a financial advisor and you don't know much about it, we're not talking about like a couple $100 here or there. We're literally talking about tens of thousands of dollars annually. I think, one of our largest, advanced premium tax credit, that we have out there is over $30,000 annually. If you talk about somebody that's in, they're 59 years old and they've got, 6 years until they reach Medicare eligibility, because the premium tax credits go away at Medicare eligibility at 65. But if you could save $30,000 a year for 6 years, I'm originally from Tennessee. My math is not great, but $30,000 a year times 6 years, that's nearly 200 grand that stays in their investment portfolio. It stays in a position that you can utilize that money differently. So these advanced premium tax credit numbers, we're not talking about dollars. We're talking about tens of thousands per year that can be leveraged. And, we believe the financial advisor and those forward-thinking ones like Russ and those of you that are Income Lab users, you are the ones that are thinking about this. You are the ones that can unlock this for clients, and we can solve the health insurance and Medicare piece. So There are some great questions still out there, Justin, and I think one of them goes to talk about tax planning. One of them was out there, from a Social Security calculations, how you do that. Do you see other ones out there that are important to you, Justin? Or if you're out there live and you've
Well,
not entered your question, go ahead and enter your questions now.
I'll address actually what you were just referring to. So you're right. We're not sort of serving up to you right here the premium credit or lack thereof, yeah, on this screen. Although I agree with you, that'd be a great little feature. Um, but you can actually. So what I'm showing you here is, okay, I already have this plan. It's a single plan, so it would either have or not have the expenses that Russ was showing from Move Health, right? But you could easily run two different plans and say, all right, one of them has, maybe it has early Roth conversions, but no premium credits. And then the other one does not have those Roth conversions. You can just X them out for those years, but it does have the premium credits. And so they would have different expenses in them. So clearly, you're kind of trading off expenses here. The Roth conversion one would have the expenses of the taxes and the higher premiums, right? Whereas the other one would have lower premiums, potentially also, you have lower taxes, but also you have a higher IRA balance going forward. Fair enough. Well, you can just build two plans where they only differ in that. And now I haven't done it here, but you would just see for that client, you'd have one that says, hey, retire early, take premium credits, one that says no premium credits. And now you compare them, instead of comparing them for, just apples to apples on Roth conversions, you could even compare them, both of them Roth conversions or both of them taxable, tax deferred, tax free, and just see what the differences are over time. And so this is actually a really powerful tool that does allow you to think about, hey, what are my trade-offs in those early years? I mean, I agree with you, Drew. I haven't done it, but my guess is $30,000 in expenses that you never have will be pretty powerful. We certainly have a lot of people who use Income Lab for this kind of planning, and they often do just say, "Hey, for these couple years in my early 60s, we're not going to do Roth conversions." Right?
Sure. This is a really good point, though. Justin, I think that some of the things that we've done with forward-thinking financial advisors like Russ Thornton and his firm and others is that when people are preparing to make that transition into retirement, from a health insurance perspective, the modified adjusted gross income that is in the retirement year is what matters. So just, hypothetical situation here. Someone says, hey, I want to retire at the end of 26, or excuse me, at the end of 25. Okay. As we prepare for their income in 26 and 27, we would like to be able to compare the Roth conversion tax, hit in 25 compared to what tax credit eligibility would be valued at in 26. And it could cost you an extra $20,000 in 25 to do that Roth conversion, but it might unlock $30,000 in 2026 in advanced premium tax credits. So an advisor could go to that and say, okay, hey, we're going to do just a little bit more of a Roth conversion and we're going to do whatever. And it's going to cost you a little bit more in taxes in 25, but we're going to gain that back in 26 through advanced premium tax credits, and in 27 through credits, and 28 in credits. And so those are things we'd love to do. And I think the power of the Income Lab tool, if you're not utilizing Income Lab today, you can see the power of the Income Lab tools today. And I think that, your tool unlocks the ability for a financial advisor to be able to make that advanced planning recommendations, and alongside of leveraging healthcare costs as well.
So this is an education for me as well. So it's same year MAGI is what affects your premium credit for that year. Whereas for folks who, are doing like Medicare IRMA planning, it's actually a 2-year look back, except in certain situations. So anyway, another reason to have a financial advisor, basically, because it's complicated, but
we hear so much about IRMA, and I think everybody's super cautious about IRMA. And if you don't know what IRMA is, it's the income related adjustment for Medicare cost. But it's 2 years prior. So if you were retiring in 25, they look at your 23 MAGI. However, really the top IRMA surcharge essentially equates to about $6,000 a year. It's another, $500 a month or so. It's not as meaningful as it could be unlocking advanced premium tax credits at 62 or 63 or 64.
Right.
So you might decide, hey, let's do a Roth conversion of 300 grand at 62 years old, because we're going to be able to push our magi down to $50,000 a year at 63 and 64 or whatever, and unlocking that advanced premium tax credit value compared to the cost of the Roth conversion in that tax year. We need a tool to be able to do that, and I don't know that it exists today. We just have to do it manually. But maybe we can put that in the income lab.
Yeah,
Put it in your bucket.
A few more questions here. Somebody was referring to some kind of a white paper or something, Drew, that maybe Caribou had. I don't know if that's something we can point people to.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it was David Irwin. Thank you, David Irwin Jr. Incredible. Yes. So on the movehealth.io website, and I think the head of marketing, Josie Livingood, has been there putting in some great links for you all in the chat. We have a ton of resources that are available for financial advisors that help to navigate these things. Of course, Russ has mentioned earlier about the relationship between a Move Health live licensed agent. We have a team of licensed agents, but we also have our Learn Center, which gives you a bunch of materials, educational articles, white papers, things you can share with clients as they start to navigate this early retiree, health insurance, hurdle. So that's, our Move Health users out there like Russ, are utilizing these things, providing them to their clients. And then of course, we're helping to navigate, these transitions live with our human team as well.
And some of the things in the chat may have already been answered, because I know we both have some colleagues that are fielding those questions, but we have focused a lot on early retirement, pre 65 retirement. There were people asking, is there also help on Move Health for Medicare decisions?
Yes. Absolutely. So our team, of licensed agents, all are certified, licensed for both health insurance pre-65 in both federal and state-based marketplaces, as well as Medicare. So, Medicare, 65 and above, we cannot, not everybody marries somebody that's the same age. So we have to be able to do both. So we are definitely serving Medicare eligible clients, and we really want to help people unlock that early retirement window. There's millions and millions of Americans. If you look between the age of 55 and 64, there's 40 million people in that window. And the millions of them would love to quit their job. And they're going to their financial advisor and they're saying, hey, do I have enough money? Can I afford to quit working? What do I need to do? The financial advisor says, yes, you got enough money. We're good to go. House is paid off. Your other house is paid off. Kids are grown. The last piece you need to figure out is health insurance. And a lot of people just go, I don't know. I've had it through my job for 30 years. I don't know what to do. I'll just wait to Medicare. And that's not what you have to do. So we work and partner with firms like Wealthcare for Women, Russ Thornton, and many others, and we help unlock that early retiree window. So we like that, but we definitely serve Medicare eligible 65 and beyond.
Yeah, I'd probably say 80% of my clients that I've introduced or referred to Move Health or Medicare, with a smaller number pre-Medicare, and it's not just. I want to be clear, it's not just plain vanilla cases either. It's not like I have coverage, could I do better? I've had Jacqueline at Move Health has helped me with my women clients that are coming out of divorce. As people on the call may know, pursuant to divorce, you can get COBRA for 36 months instead of kind of the more standard 18 months if you're leaving work. And so Jacqueline has helped some of my women clients evaluate COBRA versus other options. They've helped some of my clients evaluate adult children that aren't yet 26. So they need to look at their own coverage, but also include coverage for a child that's maybe 24 or 25 years old. So that can obviously play into the decision making. So Jacqueline has been great and has been up to the challenge with everything I've thrown at her.
Awesome. Russ, I knew we were going to get this question when you showed it at the very beginning. The mind map that you used with all kind of the, what's important to you and the people are asking what that software is and kind of did you create that yourself, or is that kind of a template of some sort?
Yeah, like all my good ideas, I absolutely stole this from someone else. So there's a industry coach named John Bowen with CEG Worldwide. He's been doing something like this for probably 15 plus years. Um, so this is kind of my adaptation of his approach, but I've found it's a great way to get to know someone and to make the kind of the quantitative financial part of the conversation, but make it very clear that it's part of a much larger conversation. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I kind of know, I've done it enough. I know what questions to ask. But whether you use software, this is a tool called MindMeister. It's web-based. It's really inexpensive, but there's tons of mind mapping software out there. You can even do this on paper if you wanted to.
And I'll share, I guess I didn't show, like you said, we probably only showed 10% of Income Lab or something. This is not the mind map Russ was just showing. It's more like the left half of the mind map. So this is an Income Lab plan in Income Lab's, version of it called Life Hub. And it allows you to, see super high level, income expenses, assets and liabilities, and so on. Or you can go all the way down to the nitty gritty each year of the plan. So that's where this is a little different than a mind map. Mind map would be kind of what are things today, whereas this is actually viewing the plan. So as I click through, I'm watching Social Security change. I'm seeing even these little sparked lines of how things are going. I can dive in and see where the Roth conversions are going and so on. So if you like mind mapping, this is another really nice, really nice tool there.
Justin, we also showed the Sankey diagram version of this.
Sure, absolutely. Let me
I
zoom
found
in.
that my clients like me are kind of visual. I found clients really like this because they can see kind of moving left to right, like income sources to, expenses on the right, even including taxes and the breakdown of taxes. I found clients really have found this particular visual helpful.
Yep, definitely.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
some of this is just like retiring is hard to do in a sense because it's not always possible to visualize how you're even going to do it, like which pieces are going to move around. And maybe we could even kind of close with this, Drew, to kind of what you were saying. A lot of this is about letting people do something they would like to do anyway. Often people, maybe they were planning on retiring at 70, you can help them retire at 65. Maybe it was 65, you can help them retire at 61. This whole, how much can I spend? How can I best live my life? How can I best, marshal my resources and move things around? You're unlocking, I think you used that word a few times, these possibilities for people for, meaningful, fulfilling lives. And I think, that's a lot of what drives, what we do at Income Lab, and it sounds like Move Health as well.
Yeah, agree, 1000%.
Yeah. So, I don't know, any last, I think we've hit most of the questions I saw in the Q&A. I think there were several that were answered by our colleagues as well, but
If anyone's interested, I just dropped a link to a copy of my mind map template in the chat. So if anybody wants to get in there and click around, they're welcome to.
wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Russ. I know people love every time someone shows a homegrown tool, we always see people say, I need that. I need that. So, um, well, really appreciate it, Russ, Drew, everybody who joined us today. Hope you learned something or got some tools that would be helpful for you. Of course, Move Health and Income Lab are always ready to answer questions about our respective resources, and hope everybody has a great week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks, Russ.
Yeah, thanks, y'all.
Bye.